Which team would get the #1 seed in the NFC if the Detroit Lions and Philadelphia Eagles both win their final 3 games of the season? The Lions' 11-game winning streak came to an end Sunday with a 48-42 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Detroit got off to a slow start on offense, and that ultimately proved fatal as a defense ravaged by injuries couldn't find an answer for Josh Allen and the Bills. With the loss, the Lions fell to 12-2 on the season. They're now tied with the Philadelphia Eagles atop the conference, and the race for the #1 seed will be the focus of the final 3 games. The Lions forfeited their sliver of breathing room with this loss, but the good news is they still control their own destiny for the NFC's top seed. That's right. If the Lions beat the Bears, 49ers, and Vikings over the next 3 weeks, they are guaranteed to earn a first-round bye and home field advantage through the NFC Championship game. There are only 3 teams in consideration for the #1 seed: the Lions, Eagles, and Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota can tie the Lions and Eagles at 12-2 with a win over the Bears on Monday night. But since the Vikings and Lions play each other in Week 18, that situation will sort itself out in due time. But the Eagles and Lions won't meet, which means we will have to turn to NFL tiebreakers if both teams finish with the same record. The first tiebreaker is head-to-head result, and as we've established, that doesn't apply to the Lions and Eagles. The second tiebreaker is conference record, and this is where the Lions still have an advantage. Philadelphia's 2 losses came to the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 2 NFC teams. The Lions lost to the Buccaneers and the Bills, 1 team each from the NFC and AFC. So if the Lions and Eagles win out, the Lions will have an 11-1 record in NFC games, while the Eagles' record will be 10-2. If they both lose once more, the Lions would have a 10-2 versus 9-3 edge, and so on. That would give Detroit the all-important advantage of sitting out the wildcard round and hosting the divisional and championship rounds. Another loss would put the Lions in a tough spot because the Eagles really only have one more chance to lose, this week at Washington. They finish with home games against the lowly Cowboys and Giants. The Lions worked so hard to put themselves in the best position to finally make a Super Bowl run. But now there's no room for error. The next 3 games are some of the most important in franchise history. As if the Detroit Lions didn't have enough injury issues this season, they picked up yet another after the Week 15 loss to the Buffalo Bills, as running back David Montgomery suffered a knee injury. According to early reports, Montgomery suffered a torn MCL that was expected to require surgery and sideline him for the remainder of the 2024 campaign. Head coach Dan Campbell even confirmed that was the expectation also. Looks like he's gonna require surgery that'll put him out the rest of the year, Campbell said. He had gotten it at some point yesterday in that game. David's so tough, man. He continued to play through and got it checked out today. However, things have flipped significantly since then, and there is now optimism that Montgomery can make a return in the playoffs. Here's the latest report and what Campbell said about the situation. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, Montgomery received good news after consulting with medical experts and is going to try and rehab his injury and return at some point in the playoffs. After Lions RB David Montgomery spent the last few days consulting with medical experts, sources are now optimistic that the star avoided the season-ending surgery that was initially feared, Rappaport reported on Thursday. Montgomery will rehab with the hope that he can return at some point this postseason. Campbell later confirmed that there is indeed some optimism that Montgomery may be able to play again. Optimistic with a couple of doctors that he saw, the last two. "I think we may see where this thing goes," Campbell said. "It certainly sounds more optimistic." After all the bad injury news that Lions have received this season, it's nice to finally see something positive. That said, Montgomery, who has been ruled out for Week 16, isn't out of the woods yet. In the meantime, Detroit will lean on Jamer Gibbs more, and guys like Craig Reynolds, Jermar Jefferson, and Sione Vaki could all lend a helping hand. Anthony Pittman couldn't hide the huge smile on his face while getting dressed at his locker after Wednesday's practice. After several months away, including brief stints with other teams, the 28-year-old linebacker was back in Allen Park. Earlier this week, the Lions signed Pittman off the Jacksonville Jaguars practice squad, bringing a familiar face back into the fold. With injuries to Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez, and Jalen Reeves-Maybin, the Lions were left thin at linebacker and called on Pittman to return. The Detroit native and former Wayne State standout left the Lions in the offseason, signing with the Washington Commanders in March. However, he didn't make the roster out of training camp and joined the Jaguars practice squad in October. Now, back in Detroit, Pittman said he and his family are thrilled to return home, reuniting with his guys, coaches, and staff, all of whom he considers a big family. "I was super excited and just ready to get back to work. I know how we operate here," Pittman said, after learning he was rejoining the Lions. "I know it's a gritty group, and we go hard, so I'm ready. My family was super happy. My fiancée was so happy. Family's important, and just being able to be closer to them, seeing them and having their support on game days, it really means a lot to me. They're happy that I'm going to be around more as well." The undrafted rookie spent the first 4 years of his NFL career with the Lions, seeing action on both the active roster and practice squad. With the Lions undermanned as they aim to finish the regular season strong, adding someone familiar with Aaron Glenn's defense and Dave Phipps' special teams unit was an ideal move. "It's like Dan Campbell said, next man mentality," Pittman said. "At the end of the day, Sunday, we've got to go strap up and play, no matter who we've got out there. The biggest thing is just making sure that if it's your opportunity, you're ready for it. There's no time to second guess or to worry about what happened in the past. We've got to go." So that's it. As the Lions piece together their linebacker core, Pittman said he's ready to step in wherever needed. Given his limited snaps on defense, it's likely he'll primarily contribute on special teams, where he's logged the bulk of his snaps in recent years. In 17 games for the Lions over the previous 3 seasons, Pittman tallied 1,099 snaps on special teams. With a 12-2 record and 3 games remaining, starting Sunday in Chicago against the Bears, one more victory would give the Lions their best season in franchise history. For Pittman, who also played high school football at Birmingham Groves, being part of this potentially historic final stretch as the Lions chase Super Bowl aspirations feels like a full-circle moment. But while it's a special feeling to return home, Pittman knows that whether it's practice or game day, none of that matters when it comes to the Lions' standard under Campbell. It's about being a reliable asset when his number is called. Former Detroit Lions safety Brandon Joseph was placed in police custody on Saturday and has been released. A Dearborn Heights Police Department spokesperson, confirmed to Lions on SI that Joseph was placed in police custody Saturday morning and that he has since been released. The spokesperson could not confirm the reason for Joseph being taken into custody. Per the Detroit Free Press, Joseph was pulled over for speeding and arrested for suspicion of operating under the influence. He was reportedly compliant during the process. Joseph was waived from the active roster on Saturday. A Lions team spokesperson did not provide a statement when reached for comment, citing that Joseph is no longer on the team. The Lions also elevated safety Lauren Strickland to the active roster for Sunday's game against the Chicago Bears. Strickland could fill Joseph's roles on special teams in the immediate future. The second-year safety made the active roster out of training camp and had appeared in all 14 games of the season. He was primarily a special teams player for Detroit, but had logged defensive snaps at points this year due to injuries in the secondary. Joseph made his first NFL start in Week 4 when Brian Branch was out. He originally joined the Lions as an undrafted free agent in 2023 and spent his rookie year on the practice squad while appearing in 2 games as an elevation. Joseph was one of 2 players waived amidst a flurry of roster moves Saturday, along with wide receiver Maurice Alexander. Detroit returned Ifeatu Melifonwu to the active roster off of injured reserve and signed wide receiver Tom Kennedy, outside linebacker Mitchell Agood, and defensive lineman Chris Smith to the active roster off the practice squad.